Hey guys, this is Erimus Prime from Nerdy Geek Talk, the source for all your nerdy geeky needs. And here we have the first episode of our new podcast. Yay, Toy Talk. And I am your host. And with me, we have Darth Forge.
Hey guys, what's up?
So what podcast are you from?
I'm from the Awesome Asylum podcast.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And an asylum. Get it? Nope. Okay. Nope. So Toy Talk is the podcast that is somewhat irregular. It won't be a necessarily weekly podcast, maybe bi-weekly, we'll see. But either way, it's not going to be as regular as our other podcasts because we're just going to talk about toys and different toy lines, what we want to see in the future, stuff like that. So today for our first episode, I'd figure we'd talk about Star Wars since that's something that we don't have a podcast for right now. I figured it'd be nice to do an episode to focus on that. So, specifically, we're going to be talking about Star Wars The Black Series in this video, and what we think of it, like how it's going right now, and what we'd like to see in the future, and what we think will happen in the future. So, just to start off, to clarify, I have a decent amount of Black Series figures. I'd say probably a little under half that have been released so far. I'm currently trying to track down Jango Fett and Ahsoka. Those are the two I want really bad. But I have a decent amount of the movie figures, like from The Force Awakens, because obviously most are movie figures. And I have some of the older ones, but not a ton, because I'm somewhat of a newer fan. Darth Forge here, on the other hand, he is very new to the line. You want to tell him what you have?
I have the Kylo Ren Black Series, and that's it.
Yep. So, I figured it'd be nice to have someone who I collect it pretty regularly now, and then someone who is pretty new to the line talk about it. Because I figured that'd be interesting, especially because we're both really big Star Wars fans, too. So, whether we know much about the toy line, we do know a decent amount about the characters. So, the state of it right now. The wave that was just released has Kanan from Rebels, Ahsoka from Rebels, and who else? There's A New Hope, Luke Skywalker, and I don't remember if anyone else is in that wave. I can't think so. But either way, what I want to talk about is the fact that we're getting Rebels characters now. What do you think about that?
I think that's pretty awesome, because I've been watching Rebels since it came out, and it's been pretty good.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's a really, really good show, for me at least. What do you think about the fact that they have not made them super accurate to the show in, their face? They make them look realistic. They look as if they pulled the animation characters and cast them in a live action movie. So they still have the same exact character design, but they have more realistic faces like Ahsoka and Kanan. So what do you think about that?
I thought it was pretty cool. I really like that change. If you read the book A New Dawn, where Kanan and Hera were first introduced, the art on the front of the book, Kanan and Hera doesn't exactly look exactly like their. It looks a little bit more realistic than their cartoon counterparts. So I like, because it's a cartoon for little kids essentially.
Yeah.
It's cartoonized. I'm not really sure what word to use there.
Yeah, it's very style. It's in that style. It's not a realistic style. It's sort of like the Clone Wars. But would you venture to, which do you think is more realistic looking, Clone Wars or Rebels? I don't know. They're pretty similar. I wouldn't know.
They are pretty similar.
I'd say maybe Rebels is slightly more cartoony. Maybe, but they're both the same style. But I'd say that I think that has more to do with the character designs more than the actual animation people. But we're also going to be getting Sabine soon, so I'm very excited for that because she's Mandalorian. Because I'm also trying to track down Jango Fett because that looks like a really good figure. Also, I'm very surprised by the Black Series has not done a ton of repaints. For example, they made Boba Fett, they made Jango Fett. You'd expect them to reuse a couple parts. Most people, not, obviously, you can't reuse a ton because there's some significant differences, but you'd expect a few parts to be the same. I believe, from what I've seen of reviews, they don't have a single part in common. That's pretty rare for a toy line. So that's definitely interesting. Just on a side note. But what I was going to ask is, what do you think about, what Rebels characters would you like to see, basically? in the Black Series?
I know we haven't seen him that much, but I really like his character, so I'd like to see him in a figure form. Hondo.
Hondo. Oh, that is a good one. And
like the Rebels version.
You want to see the Rebels version, not necessarily the Clone Wars. Not that they're super different, but he has like the horn beard now. Yeah, that would be a smart choice for them because he's he's definitely a huge character in the fandom. Like, people who watch Clone Wars love him, and we're very happy to see him return in Rebels. So I'm pretty sure that would be a good selling figure. I think that's a good idea. If I had to think personally what I would want... So I'm going to have two answers because my real answer has already been done in the Black Series technically. I'd want to see Maul, Darth Maul. He was done in like episode 1 with that outfit and lightsaber and like his hood and stuff and everything. I'd like to see a Rebels style Maul where he has the robotic legs because it'd be pretty much entirely new. Because like his character design is so different that I don't think they could use the same mold, especially because he doesn't have the shirt, so they'd have to get a new torso. He has a brand new lightsaber with the cane. I think that'd be a really cool thing to have the cane part be able to fit on the lightsaber handle like it did in the show, and then be able to take it off and put on the lightsaber parts. Because obviously they've shown they're willing to have multiple parts to a lightsaber besides a blade with cannons, because you can take his apart like he did in the show.
That was very cool.
That was awesome. I'm very happy about that. I have that figure. Really good. So I would really like a Maul version, because we got one for the like 3.75 inch figures, which aren't very articulated, which is why I don't collect them. But the Black Series 6 inch, I'd love to see a Maul, but I don't think that's really likely since he's already been done in the line. So that's kind of disappointing to me that I don't think we'll see that happen, but I'm still holding out hope. So a different character from Rebels I would have to pick. I would say Zeb if I had to pick someone else, or the Grand Inquisitor. Either would be really cool, because like Zeb has a really cool character design. He's an alien that we have not seen in the Black Series at all, and he'd definitely be bigger. He'd be a bigger figure, like sort of like Chewbacca. Yeah. Obviously, since he has ties to that character too, because of like concept
the original art. Concept art.
So he would be an interesting one, but one I'd probably rather see, and this is only because I'm biased, is the Grand Inquisitor, because I like lightsabers. Just straight up, like that's, if I had to pick one of those two, I'd really want Zeb, but I think I'd pick the Grand Inquisitor because, one, I'd want to see how they do that lightsaber. I want to see if I don't know, do you think they would be able to implement a, like, turning feature? Like, be able to have it rotate? Not necessarily, like, do all the things that the show one did, like, how they had the circular blades before and stuff like that. Like, not all the gadgets. I'm saying, do you think they would definitely have removable blades, because that's a standard for this line. Do you think that they would make it 2 parts so that way they can hold it and then it's able to rotate, like have a part so that way it can move?
Like, do you mean on its own or just look like it's moving?
I don't mean like it's motorized, like it can move on its own. That'd be a little ridiculous. I mean, like, he can hold his arm out, and then you can twirl the blade around, like it spins, so that way it was still connected. I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I think I don't know if they would do that.
I think a very simple way to do it is, like, how some Thor hammers are. Like, they put in a Thor hammer that looks like it's spinning.
With the effect?
Yeah, with the effect. I think that would... probably be one way they could do it. I'm not saying that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, agreed. Although personally, now that I think about it, I'd say they probably would just do a solid piece for the handle and then do the 2 blades that you could put on. So you could have 1 blade or you could have 2 blades. But now that I think about it, I don't see them. Well, I think it's possible with the engineering. I think it's definitely possible to do. I just don't see them doing it really, now that I think about it. So yeah, that's our thought on Rebels characters. I hope we get more, definitely. I would also like to say for future, I would like to say we should see Clone Wars figures. Because, I mean, obviously Rebels is somewhat different because, very different cast. There are some returning characters and stuff. But I would like to see Clone Wars exclusive characters, like especially a lot of the clones. Like, Captain Rex, Commander Wolf. I mean, obviously, I'm trying to name ones that I specifically really, really like.
Yeah.
The Clone Commandos are those are ones that I would absolutely pay, like, premium prices for. Those aren't necessarily Clone Wars, even though they appeared in the Clone Wars, but you know what I'm saying? Like, so I kind of went on a tangent with the Clone Commandos. What would you like to see from the Clone Wars, not Rebels, in the Black Series?
I'd like to see some of the other not very popular Jedi, and like you said, obviously some of the clones and stuff like that. But I'd mostly like to see the Jedi that aren't that popular, so they don't have like any toys for them.
Oh, you know who okay, if I'd have one pick, I'll ask you this too, what your one pick would be if you could only pick one character. Savage Opress would be mine. That's who it would be. Or in coming in a close second is Pre Vizsla, because both of those characters I know would never, I don't think they would ever get a 6-inch figure made because they weren't, not that they were unpopular, but they weren't
the most popular.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there are other characters that would definitely take precedence over them, and those are two of my absolute favorite characters that are not super, super popular. So I'd say definitely Savage, and then right after that Pre Vizsla, because I love the Darksaber. So if you had to pick one, and then you could pick a runner-up since I did, who would you say?
Count Dooku.
And we're going to talk about prequels later, if you want to save him for movie, or if you specifically would want a Clone Wars version, because I will say they are pretty different.
They are pretty different.
Transitioning,
and
between those.
Asajj Ventress.
That is a good one. That's definitely a character that I feel like deserves one. I'm not a huge fan of her, but I definitely think that she has done a lot in Star Wars, so I think she would deserve a figure. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. So that was our Clone Wars picks, and then we'll talk about. Okay, let's talk about the current state of the line. It's overwhelmingly movies stuff, but it's branching out because we just got 2 Rebels figures in the latest wave. We're getting another one, and let me think. Yeah, so we're getting Revan, Darth Revan. That's an amazing one. That's from the Old Republic.
Yeah.
So talk about the current state of the line. Are you okay with the overwhelming movie figures that we're getting? Like, are you okay with the fact that we are getting a ton of movie characters, or do you have some problems with that?
I have some problems with that. Like, obviously, it's very cool that we're seeing a lot of the new movie figures, but I think we're seeing a lot more of Rebels and other medias and stuff like that. I think we should see more of some of the TV shows. Figures, because we see there's a lot more content there than in just this one new movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like, not that I'm like the movie figures. There are Constable Zuvios everywhere. Like, you just find tons of them, and it's like the dude wasn't even like in the movie. That's just why do we have to have 1,000 of him in every store? But, like, you couldn't have made a figure that people wanted. Now, granted, some figure, like, when it comes to movie time, they're like, we need figures of the movie figures. That's the movie characters. That's fine. I totally agree with that. But, like, why would you make one of him? I don't understand that. That's my gripes. And then also, like, the Guavian Enforcer. I kind of like him. So, I mean, I'll give him a slight pass. But he's not to the level Constable Zuvio is. But, like, I see them a ton. It's like, they didn't... Well, the Guavian Enforcer appeared in the movie, and he's a troop builder. So I understand why they put that one out. But Constable Zuvio is just like, I'm not saying by any means it's a bad figure, because reviews I've seen, it seems like a decent figure, but it's like, I don't care about it. Why would I want a toy
I'm sure as movies move on, the new movies move on, we'll learn more about, like, some of the characters that didn't really show up.
I don't know. I feel like Constable Zuvio isn't making a return after.
He's probably not making a turn, but we might learn something new about him.
That is true, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know if I would have rather had that. You know who I want? Oh, I cannot remember his name. This is like an obscure movie character that has already been elaborated upon outside of the movies, but still in canon. He's like called the Crimson pirate or something. He was, you know how in the scene where Finn's like, I want to run away at Maz's castle, and she's like, those two will provide you transportation. There's like the giant fat alien, and then there's the one in like the red helmet.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's the same species as General Grievous. Not sure about that.
Cool.
I think I read that somewhere. That could be wrong though, so don't quote me on that. But I think I read it's at least the helmet is from that planet, I believe. But something that's really cool is that he found Kix from the Clone Wars. That clone. That clone is alive during The Force Awakens, if you didn't know that. Because he discovered a plot. He discovered the plot with Order 66 in further material, and Count Dooku found out about it and had him frozen. And then because like, you know, you cannot have that leak out. That'd be really bad. And so in the middle of a battle with the Republic, this ship that he was on was almost boarded. So they were like, we can't risk it. And they just sent it in the middle of nowhere. They jumped it, and it was abandoned. Until this pirate, the Crimson guy from The Force Awakens, found it, and Kix was sad, like, oh, I didn't save the Jedi. Like, that really bums me out. And then he joined his crew and said, yeah, I know plenty of old Republic outposts that have decent amount of stuff that we could get. So Kix is alive. There is a clone alive during the Force Awakens time period, and he's with that pirate. That pirate I would like a figure of after that long explanation.
That's got to be a pretty big culture shock.
Yeah. Like, I'm just
all the
used
Jedi
to,
were dead for so long.
There's
the
tons
Empire
of
took over.
Yeah, they're like rumor now. Like Jedi, it's like, what's that? But like, you know, you were with tons of clones. Like every single one's dead now.
Yeah.
So like all your brothers are dead, and the guys you served, the Jedi, are also all dead because your brothers killed them, and then died because you're in a time period that is not right for you. That's very interesting. So I know I read about that. That'd be cool. Also, I won't deny, he would probably be a peg warmer too, because while I think his character design's cool, it's not nearly as cool as Kylo Ren, Captain Phasma, stuff like that really sells.
Yeah.
So I won't deny that he probably wouldn't sell well, but I think he'd sell better than Constable Zuvia. So I am slightly biased because I like him for the story reasons, but that's one that I would like. But like, you know how we have the Snowtrooper? The Snowtrooper, we got the regular one in the line, but first we got the Snowtrooper like officer at Toys R Us with the shoulder pauldron. I would have rather had like a repaint of like the Stormtrooper, the First Order Stormtrooper is like a Shadow Trooper, than get two Snowtroopers, one without a shoulder pauldron, one with one. While I do appreciate I have the shoulder pauldron ones, and I do like that, I would rather have a black Stormtrooper, because like that's awesome. Just saying. It's pretty cool. And it's a straight up repaint. Like you don't even have to make the shoulder pauldron. It would be a brand new figure without any brand new parts. Obviously shoulder pauldron isn't hard to make, but you know. So either way, I'm happy with what we're getting, but there are a few decisions in terms of figures that I wish would have been, that I'm not necessarily blaming them, but I would have rather they'd taken a different route. But for the most part, I would say I really like it. In terms of articulation and sculpt work and paint work, how would you say the Black Series is doing right now? Those three things.
Pretty good. I have the Kylo Ren one, and I really like the articulation. I got like really excited because I was able to like have him like hold his lightsaber with both hands. I thought that was like really cool.
Yeah,
so
I'm not gonna lie. That's as soon as I got that figure, I had him do that, and I took a picture. In fact, actually, none of you can see this. I'm wearing a shirt of Kylo Ren doing that right now. That's actually kind of funny. I didn't even realize that. But seriously, I'm wearing a shirt with Kylo Ren holding the lightsaber right in front of his face like that. That's kind of funny.
I feel like a lot of figures can't really move their both hands like right next to each other like this. There's a lot of figures that have articulation problems like that, but
yeah,
I was really happy whenever I could do that with
So
Kylo Ren.
articulation, you're satisfied, right?
I'm satisfied for what I'd be doing with the figures.
And then let's say sculpt next. What do you think of the sculpting on the Black Line? Is it detailed enough for you, or is it too detailed? Up to you.
The detail is pretty good. I looked over my Kylo Ren figure like a good bit, and I really like the detail. It's pretty good detail.
And then paint work. Kylo Ren is not a very painted figure. But in general, from what you've at least seen, and like, you know, you can talk about your Kylo Ren, but in general, from what you've seen with the line, what would you say about paint apps in general? Do you think they're good? Do you think they're enough?
The paint are pretty good. I think for some of them it could be a little bit better. But I like what they've done so far. It's not the worst, but it's certainly not the best they could do for some of them.
I feel you. I'd have to say, for articulation, I'm definitely satisfied. They are very good. The only thing I personally would like better is if they had ab crunch more than they have, like a torso joint that allows for rotation and like a little bit of ab crunch. I'm not a huge fan of those in general. I prefer an actual waist swivel and an ab crunch, but I'm not going to say it's bad because it most certainly isn't. It's fine, but I just personally prefer that. Although on some of the figures like the Stormtroopers, that would absolutely break the sculpt. So I'm not going to say that it's the wrong call for all the figures, but for some of them, I preferred a different way. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether it would be better or not. Now that I think about it, I don't know. It's definitely not a bad call. So I'm not going to say that's a bad decision. But in general, yeah. If I think about it, there's no articulation they don't have that I'm like, oh, I wish they had that. DC Multiverse is a line that has problems with that. But we're not talking about that right now. But yeah, I'd have to say Black Series, it has very decent articulation. It doesn't like go super above and beyond. Like, it's not like, whoa, this has way more articulation than like I possibly imagined was possible. But it is most certainly not. It's not enough. That's how I'll say. It's definitely enough.
Yeah.
You know, just to use a double negative, it's not enough, you know. But I definitely say it keeps me satisfied. Oops, I bumped the table. But it's definitely enough to be satisfied and get whatever poses that you're trying to do. It's definitely good for that. Sculpt work. That is something I think the Black Series does almost better than any other line I collect. It's extremely detailed. Like, extremely. It's pretty surprising, like especially on just regular clothes and stuff, how they'll do like no, I can't even think of it, like how if you have I want to say ruffles, but like creases and stuff in your pants, like stuff like that, like you know, where it's not absolutely straight in uniform like a Stormtrooper. It should be like that's straight armor, like there should be no like waving effects or whatever. But like Han Solo, like he has folds and creases in his jackets and spots where it's like you didn't have to do that, but it made it look a whole lot better and more realistic. So I'd have to say for the most part in sculpt work, like Kylo Ren, he has very little paint, as he should. He shouldn't. But like if you look at his arms and stuff, all the parts where he has like how do I describe it? You know what I'm talking about? How it has like the different layers, like how throughout his entire arm there's like a layer every millimeter pretty much. And it's like they sculpted every single part in. That's pretty impressive, like because you could have made it all black and most people wouldn't have noticed. Like you could have just made it straight, like just a black arm, and most people wouldn't have noticed because it's not something that like is super obvious. They sculpted a lot of stuff, and like I appreciate the attention to detail they put into this line. Paintwork. That's honestly something you have to base by figure, but there are no figures I own or have seen that I think really needed more paint. I mean, there's always like small things like, oh, they could have had a slight paint app here or there, but like for the most part, there are no lackluster figures when it comes to being painted, I'd say. For ones that need it, obviously. Like, you know, Stormtrooper doesn't have many paint apps, same with Kylo Ren, but like they're not supposed to have a ton, so that makes sense. You know, aside from that, is there anything else you want to talk about with how the Black Series is doing right now?
I think they're doing pretty good, and I think down the line they're gonna release more figures, and we might be happy with those, and we might not be. I don't know.
I would have to say if it continues on its current course, I like it. So we'll talk about movie stuff because we have gotten plenty of sequel. Is that what we're calling the sequel trilogy? so far for episode 7. That's the start of the sequel trilogy, right? Because a prequel, the original trilogy, and then I'll just say, for the purposes of this video, we are calling it the sequel trilogy, even though we only have one movie. So we've gotten plenty of figures for that one movie. No one I feel like is left out. Do you think anyone's really like is sore? Like wow, they left them out. Like no one you can think of. Is there anyone you can think of that they're like, wow, I can't believe they didn't make a figure? Like that's kind of.
Did they make a figure of the Crimson guy?
No.
Him.
Yeah. See,
they've expanded on him in other media,
but not Constable Zuvia. Well, they did a small story with Constable Zuvia, but like nothing. I would say that makes him impressive. But yeah. I would say in terms of like just seeing the movie, there's nothing that they really left out besides, well, no, you can't even say Luke or Leia because like they're barely in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You could maybe say Leia. We'll probably get one. We'll get one eventually. We got Han, we'll get Leia by the end of the trilogy, I'm sure. Same thing with Luke. Luke will definitely get next movie. I absolutely believe that at least. But yeah, so not many that they've left out of this movie. Original trilogy. I would say there aren't really any I can think of that they, except Grand Moff Tarkin. That is one that I would like. Would definitely
that would be cool.
Because they made General Hux for the new movie. So if you're gonna make him, I think it's fair to do a character like Grand Moff Tarkin, who is a really cool character.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, no one I could think of that they really needed that they left out. Prequel trilogy. On the other hand, there are not a ton of prequel trilogy figures. Now I think they should do more in general because there are plenty of fans that is their era and like they appreciate the original trilogy and the new sequel trilogy and like them. But personally for me, I grew up with Clone Wars and stuff like that, so I am slightly not biased because prequels aren't my favorite, but I certainly like them more than most people do. So I would say that it is important because there were some good characters in there. Yeah. Like, whether you like the movies or, Clone Wars show or not, there are some very good characters in there. And so I would say that is an era that I feel like should be elaborated on more. We got Jango Fett recently, and we got, like, Obi-Wan. We've gotten some clone troopers, not a lot, but definitely a good amount. But we just recently in an Amazon exclusive like 4 or 3-pack got the Phase 2 clone trooper from Revenge of the Sith. We should see that get a wide release, I think. And definitely with some other variants because we only have the regular and it's an exclusive 4-pack that you have to buy to get it. So there's that, but anything that you think is like what's your most wanted character to be made in the Black Series from the prequel trilogy? Or Clone Wars show, like that time period. Although we already talked about Clone Wars show, so let's just say the movies. Yeah. Let's say the movies specifically.
The movies, I'd have to say some of the council members.
Do they? I don't think they made a Mace Windu one. I could be wrong on that.
I don't think they did.
That's one I absolutely think they should make one of. Like, I don't see a reason not to. He's a character that is pretty loved by fans.
Yeah.
Like, especially me too. But my number one for those movies, I'm trying to think. Episode 1, we got Darth Maul. 2, the big one I'd want is probably Jango Fett, because I'm not a huge Dooku fan. I wouldn't mind a Dooku figure. But definitely my number one, like, undoubtedly, even over Mace Windu, is General Grievous. And it seems like we're on the right track because for the fan vote they did, Darth Revan won that, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But General Grievous was in, like, the final ones, and also they made for the Disney Select, Disney Select sells them at their stores. I think it's called Disney Select, something like that. But it's like, they might be 7-inch. Yeah, I think they're 7-inch figures, and they're made of mostly die-cast. And so they have their own problems because of that, but we're not talking about that line in general. They made a General Grievous. So I think it's likely because he got so far in the fan poll and that Disney Select made one, I think we'll get one at some point. Because that's also that's a very popular character, I'd venture to say. Mm-hmm. He's definitely my favorite, so I'm also biased. But I'd say that, like, I've never met someone that is like, I absolutely hate General Grievous. I would never want a figure of him. Like, whether you love his character or not, that is a cool character design. You cannot lie about that. So I think that is one that I think absolutely needs to be made, and I hope they do it well. Because I'm not gonna lie, that is slightly hard with his arms and stuff. That's not gonna be the easiest thing to do and do it right, but I am confident they can do it. So one last thing we'll talk about before we go on to like Revan and the fan poll and talk about expanded universe, because that is what Revan is. That's gonna be the last part of this video. We'll talk about currently the vehicles in the Black Series line. We've gotten small things, like we got like Jabba the Hutt, and was there a small vehicle with him? I'm not sure. We got a speeder bike. What else was there? There was definitely something else. There was like the Tauntaun. Han Solo, I think, came with one.
Yeah.
Besides that, I would say the only real like ship we've gotten is the TIE Fighter from the new movie, which I own.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge. It's absolutely huge, and I was like, why did I buy this? It's so big. But I love it, so it goes both ways. I definitely think there are plenty of Star Wars vehicles I'd like them to make. There's no way, like, before I say, what do you want? Don't say Millennium Falcon. That's too big. Like, they literally cannot do that. That is impossible. TIE Fighter's huge. So, what would you like to see?
An X-Wing.
An X-Wing? Yeah, that's exactly what I'd say. Would you rather get the like new X-Wing or the old X-Wing? They're very similar though, wouldn't you say? I would say it doesn't really.
They're very similar. I think
the TIE Fighter's more different from the new one to the old one than the X-Wing is really. I'd love to see Poe's X-Wing though, specifically. You know what I'm talking about, the black and orange one, because they would absolutely be able to repaint it. So that's why I'm saying I would love to see. If we only got one, I would rather see the classic one.
Yeah.
But I'd love a Poe's X-Wing because. Okay, let's just be honest. Like, everything looks cooler when you repaint in a black color scheme. Like, just pretty much any figure. So, I would love to see that. But if we only got one, I'd say classic X-Wing. Is there any other vehicle you'd say that you really want or, like, feel should be included? And it doesn't have to be a big one either. It could be a small one, like, sort of like how they've done with the speeders and stuff. One thing I think would be a good small pack, like how they did, like, the Scout Trooper on the speeder bike, would be Rey with her speeder. Yeah. Because we saw it, not a ton, but we saw it a decent amount, especially in trailers. So, like, that's something that's stuck in people's minds. They picture her with a lot. So, that's one that I feel like would be pretty good. And obviously, Rey sells very well. So, that wouldn't be a bad move at all. Is there any other things you'd say?
I'd say maybe from the original trilogy, Luke's... I want to say a speeder, but it's not really a speeder. It's more like a car speeder.
Oh yeah. I don't have a huge interest in that, but I'm not going to say that's a bad thing.
I think it'd be very cool to see that.
Yeah, I do not disagree with that at all. One thing I think would be cool. Okay, this is definitely now I just pictured this. While I do like General Grievous's Starfighter, I would rather see Darth Maul's, the Sith Infiltrator. That's a really good vehicle design. That's a really good one. I'd like to see, like a tank, like the ATTE, sort of. Or like, traditional walker. A traditional walker's probably too big, though, like the AT-AT. I just... That's definitely too big for them to do. Yeah, definitely. Now that I think about how that scales to 6-inch figures, that's impossible. Never mind. But I would like the clone walker. Like the ATTE. You know what I'm talking about, right? That'd be pretty big, but it's way smaller than the AT-AT. So it's...
Doesn't that only, like, fit one person in it?
No, it fits a decent amount of people in the middle, but, like, it's much smaller. It's not very obvious that there are... Like, there's no super big torso area with a ton of people in it. But, like, you can fit more people in the middle. It doesn't just have one person. Also, the cockpit has two, I think. Republic gunships. I like those things. Why have we gotten a Jedi Starfighter, like Anakin or Obi-Wan?
I don't think we have.
I don't think we have in the 6-inch... Yeah, because, like, people were talking about how the TIE Fighter is the first one. That'd be a good idea. But, again, these are really expensive to make and sell. So I understand why they don't do a lot. So, if I had to pick one, I'd say X-Wing. Is that what you'd say, or no?
X-Wing.
Because, like, we got the TIE Fighter. You just have to have the X-Wing with the TIE Fighter.
Yeah, it'd be cool to have them posed as if they're, like, fighting each other.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like while the Sith Infiltrator, I personally think is a cooler design than the X-Wing.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't go well with the TIE Fighter. So, I'd pick the X-Wing. So last thing we'll talk about is expanded universe characters coming into the Black Series. We'll talk about first, since Revan's from the Old Republic, we'll treat that as slightly separate because it's not necessarily, it's out of canon now, but it's so far before canon that it doesn't, you could fit it in, it wouldn't mess with the timeline at all.
Yeah.
So we'll do Old Republic first. I would like to see, I'm going to pick two, Darth Malgus and Darth Nihilus. I'm very biased in both of those. I think Darth Malgus would sell well because that's a popular character for people that know him, and he's a cool design. Darth Nihilus is a very obscure character, so not a ton of people know him, so that's just my personal choice because I really, really love that guy. If I had to pick someone that wasn't a Sith, I wouldn't really do Jedi because I'm not a huge fan of Old Republic Jedi. I know a lot of people are. I just personally am not. I'd pick probably the Old Republic Troopers. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about? Those, those were very cool. I would like a figure of one of those and then get a billion repaints because I'm one that I like troop building. So that's something I'd like. But I'd definitely pick those two Sith personally. Darth Sion would be cool, but that's a lot of sculpt and paint work you'd have to do to make his undead body and stuff. So, and personally, I just love Malgus and Nihilus much better. So those are my two picks. What would you say from Old Republic?
Definitely Darth Malgus. I would say like maybe one or two of the Jedi, like maybe the Grand Master.
The one that Malgus killed in the trailer. Is that what you're talking about?
No, that's Kyle Sendarach. He was the Grand Master, but
and then
his apprentice.
And then he got killed.
Yeah,
he was the Grand Master until he got killed in the trailer.
His apprentice became the new Grand Master.
Okay,
I'm talking more like
the girl.
Her. Yeah, the girl.
Okay, yeah.
With the double lightsaber.
Double lightsabers are cool. I'm just not a huge fan of her. But I'm not. I would absolutely buy that figure. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I wouldn't buy it. I'm just saying it's not at the top of my list. Oh, I just thought of one. I lost it. Dang. What was the first one you said?
Malgus.
Malgus. Oh, now I got it back. Malik. Darth Malik would be a good one to do because we're getting Revan. Malik is by no means more closer to my heart than Malgus or Nihilus. Like, I'd much rather have them. But if they were smart, they'd do a Malik because that's a companion piece to Revan. So it would sell pretty well because Revan is going to destroy sales. Like, he's going to do great. I'm absolutely sure of that. So I'm thinking that Malik would be a solid... If they wanted to further explore that territory, I feel like that is something they should and possibly will do. Because, like, that is just... It's a companion piece, just like the X-Wing. It's like, however well your TIE Fighter sold, the X-Wing will probably sell as well because people want their X-Wing with their TIE Fighter. Same thing with, I'd say, with Malik and Revan. While people like Revan more, people like Malik with Revan. So, I would say that's a solid bet on what to do, but not necessarily what I would pick. Is there anything else from the Old Republic you think would be a very smart idea, or no?
I didn't really get that much into the Old Republic.
Yeah, me neither. I'm more into... I never played it. I'm into the mythos more than anything. Like, you know,
I've played it a little bit.
The story. So I like the story elements to it, and I've watched all the like cinematic trailers, which are really well done.
Yeah,
like, really well done. Very entertaining.
Like I'd like a full on cinematic movie. Like that would be cool. That
would be an amazing spin-off movie. I'm rooting for that more than anything, or even a TV show. Like, see, I'd rather see a movie. But I feel like they could do great things with a TV show, too. But either way, not what we're talking about. So, expanded universe that's not Old Republic. What would you like to see? I have a feeling I know what one of yours will be, but I'm not going to say it. But I'll say it if I'm wrong. You could pick maybe more than one, but try to think of one.
That's not Old Republic.
Yeah. Having trouble there.
Yeah. Say yours, and then I'll say mine.
So I'm also trying to think of one. I'll just say what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say XR Kun.
Yes.
That's who you'd pick.
Yeah, I'd definitely pick XR
I know
Kun.
exactly who I'd pick. I just thought... Do you have any guesses what mine's going to be? It's going to be pretty obvious once I say it.
What era?
It's post original trilogy. Also, another one I just thought it would be cool is Darth Bane. Not who I was going to say, but that'd be a cool one. Mine is
Admiral
Thrawn.
Yeah.
Yep, Thrawn. That is absolutely who I want. I can't believe I even forgot him. Yeah, that is one that I would absolutely want. He's not in canon yet. Very may well be in a month from when this video is recorded. So depending on when you're listening to this video, you might think we're stupid. No, this is being recorded in like middle of June 2016. So as of now, Thrawn is not canon. They are talking about putting him in Rebels. There's rumors about him being in the movie, stuff like that. I'm personally thinking it's going to go the Rebels route, but we'll see either way. But it's been strongly hinted at that character is returning to canon. So for now, we can say, yeah, I want Thrawn, because that would be that's what my pick is. But if he does become canon, I'll say Darth Bane, because he's not canon, and that's not Old Republic, is it? No, that's much later.
Yeah, I think that's...
He trained long past the death of Revan.
Yeah.
Oh, another one that's cool is Darth Krayt. Do you know who that is?
Darth
he's
Krayt.
all like spiky metal armor and stuff. It was really cool. And what was one of his apprentices had like a double... I don't know if it was a double lightsaber or like a saber staff type thing. And he had like black jagged tattoos on his face. I can't remember his name at the moment, but he was pretty cool too. I'd like a figure of him because it was a cool design. But Darth Krayt is a character I know a lot of people cared about too. He started the rule of one for the Sith, which is a different philosophy from the rule of two. Similar. But that'd be another cool one. His character design with armor is sort of similar to the armored Darth Bane too, actually, if you think about it. But yeah, so those are my picks for that. Anything else you want to say in terms of the Black Series?
Do you think because they made Darth Revan and going a little bit into the expanded universe, do you think they might bring him into canon?
I personally I think that they're going to bring Darth Revan in through canon. They were so close to doing him and Darth Bane through Clone Wars. Didn't quite. I think Revan is going to come back through... I have a theory it's going to be through Rebels. And we could talk about that in a separate video. But yes, to answer your question, yes, I think so. I don't know when or how necessarily. I have my theories, but I do think he will be brought into canon. I don't know if that's the reason why, but I think when they saw the figure that he won the figure poll for the fan vote, because that was how he was made in the Black Series. If you didn't know that, they did a fan vote and he won. So I think that definitely, I think he was already on their radar, but once that happened, I'm pretty sure they were like, okay, we have to figure out a way to do it at some point. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure it will happen. Anything else for the Black Series?
Not really. I'm really interested to see what they do next.
Yep, I'm really liking the direction they're going for the most part. There's a few qualms I have with it, but for the most part, it is a very, very solid toy line, and I'm pretty happy with it. So, that is pretty much it. So, do you want to give your social media, how people can reach you from listening to this fine first episode of Toy Talk?
Yeah, on Instagram, you will find me at John_the_Foreman. And the John is Jon, not John. I spell it the correct way. And Foreman is Foreman. And for Tumblr, it's John-David-Foreman, spelled the same way.
And then if you want to reach me, you can also find him on Awesome Asylum, our comic book podcast. Very great. I was on the first episode. I'm not a host, though. He is. So you can definitely find him there. You can find me at Erimus Prime on Twitter and also on the Transformers podcast, which is very entertaining, if I do say so myself. TF Primecast Like I said, you can find me at Erimus Prime, which is ERIMUS Prime. Because I'm pretty sure you know how to spell Prime. Capital E and capital P, no space. Besides that, thank you for listening to our first episode. It was really fun. Thank you for being here, Darth Forge, and have a good one.